I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future, and instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be. Don't build a hero culture. When I first started as an entrepreneur, I didn't really understand what a hero culture was, and I certainly didn't know how to avoid building one. So unfortunately, like so many new entrepreneurs, I did exactly that. Let me share with you what it looks like. As an entrepreneur, you start building a team. I remember doing this specifically. I started building my team, and I didn't know how to set goals or outcomes. And I had been to the same goal setting sessions that you've been to the ones that I always rail against, where the guy on stage said, write the biggest number down you can ever imagine earning. Now cross it out and double it. That's your new goal. So I'd been through all that crap. And because it was so pervasive and I heard it over and over again, just like you probably have, I started to believe that was the way to create success. You put together outlandish, crazy, insane goals that you don't really understand how you're going to achieve, and then you build the team and tell them to make it happen. I mean, isn't that what having a BHAG is all about? A big, hairy, audacious goal. You create some scary thing and tell your whole team that they need to go and get it. Well, the fact is, that doesn't really work. And it, over time, will wear down your team. It'll wear down the best people on your team. It will have A players leaving your team. However, some people will stay. They'll stay for the hero culture that you create when you set unrealistic outcomes and tell everyone they have to go get them, and the team's completely behind, and everybody doesn't know how they're going to get it done. And then what has to happen is someone pulls an all-nighter or goes through some extraordinary lengths or works all weekend or comes in early or stays late and finally gets the project done. And what are they? They're a hero for the whole team, and we all celebrate how they worked hard and sacrificed and did more than they should. And you know what? Every once in a while, I totally respect this on a team. That happens on our team every once in a while. It happens. It's rare. But what'll happen on our team is we'll set our annual outcomes. We'll set our one-year annual objectives. And then we'll have our 90-day targets laid out, and we'll have our 30-day goals, and we'll get commitments from people. And something will happen where we have to put in extra effort to make one of those 30-day goals actually come true. We have to put in some extra time to make, something that maybe we misplanned or didn't calculate right. And so we have to go over the top to make it happen. And when we do, we all celebrate that we did that. But it's infrequent. And I don't want it to be the way that my companies run. Because when you build a hero culture, it will destroy you. I've done this before. I've actually had companies where people didn't really get excited about things until we were right at the deadline, where people really didn't check in until they had to stay late and come in early, because the only thing that we recognized in the companies that I had before, where we had unrealistic deadlines, we had unrealistic outcomes, was the only time that we really talked about things was when somebody played the role of hero. And here's the challenge with that. If you start to build a hero culture where the only way you ever achieve things, where the only way goals ever get delivered is where people go over the top and work crazy hours and sacrifice and put in more time than they normally would, you start to build a culture where the only time things get done is when somebody can actually be a hero. It gets worse than that. You'll actually start to build a culture where people won't check in until they're allowed to be a hero. And you'll build a culture where people might even inadvertently, maybe subconsciously, and I'll tell you in all candor, sometimes consciously, create problems that they can fix so that they can become the hero. Because when you create a hero culture, the only thing that becomes important is who's the hero today? Not, are we showing up all together and moving forward as a team? Are we working in a congruent way to deliver the highest quality products and the highest quality outcomes to our clients? Are we all taking care of each other, taking care of ourselves, making sure that we stay in momentum and that we can continue to work as a team? See, the difference is when you build a hero culture, you will destroy any momentum you have. And it's so hard to see, because here's how it feels as an entrepreneur. You set a big outcome, the whole team's pushing it for it, and then a bunch of people have to stay late, come in early, do all those things, and you think to yourself, wow, I've built such an amazing culture here. This team really delivers. But if you have your team doing that, deadline after deadline, and quarter after quarter, and month after month, and week after week of trying to be a hero, trying to overcome, trying to make things happen, working against impossible deadlines, you will wear down your best team members. You will have A players leave, and you will bring on people who are used to working in crisis and who want to work in crisis, and those are not the best team members in any company. I mean, we all need a few of them. But when your entire organization starts to be driven by the crisis management created by a hero culture, it is devastating. Because here's what every one of us should really want: a performance culture. A culture where we get together, set outcomes that we're all excited about, and we crush them. A culture where we get together, we look at what the availability of resources is, what the accomplishments are we could achieve, we put together a solid plan, we work day by day to get there, and then we all bring it in on time, under budget, in the right way, and deliver it. When you look at the largest organizations in the world, the ones that we all respect, they have exactly that. They have a performance culture. When you look at any organization that you work with or that you buy from or that we respect, that we are customers of, I assure you, they are performance cultures. Because large organizations that deliver over time and meet commitments over time have built a culture of performance, and they fight the culture of heroism. Because here's the problem with being a hero. It's unpredictable. Sometimes people can, sometimes they can't. The problem with being a hero is you don't know who is going to step up and do that every single time. The problem with being a hero is if you condition your people only to work when there's a tight deadline and everything's on the line, the rest of the time they're barely checked in. And we build a company day by day, not based on extraordinary deadlines. See, we need our team checked in every day. We need them to be present and aware and seeing opportunity and taking care of our clients and delivering consistently and helping our organization grow. We need them to make sure that they're giving us the feedback that things are working, they aren't working. When are deadlines too tight? When are we going to miss? That we all know what's happening. And the last thing we want is people looking for the exceptions and the challenges and the issues so that they can step up and be a hero over and over again, because it just doesn't work over time. Now, here's what I know. You may be listening to this, and maybe it's not you, but I know there's a few people listening to this who are thinking, well, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. My team's been doing this for a while. We're good at this. We do come in early and stay late, and we crush deadlines, and we make things happen, and we're all excited about it, and we love it, and we want it to continue like this. Well, I've got news for you. You may be the emperor with no clothes. Because if your team is consistently being asked to come in early and stay late, if they're consistently being asked to overcome deadlines, if they're consistently being asked to be heroes, you are going to start to lose your most important people. And what you won't realize is when a team feels like you're taking from them in the form of their personal time, in the form of too much of a deadline, too much of them having to overcome, to step up, to give their discretionary time, to come in early, stay late, your team starts to feel like they're being taken advantage of. And as entrepreneurs, we have a team of people who are coming in every day and building our future dreams. If we're good at it, and if we're good at being entrepreneurs, we can make every person on our team feel like they're building their future dreams too, because they are. But when we have people constantly trying to overcome and make things right and make things work, eventually it will come crashing down on itself because human beings do not like to live in a state of constant urgency. There's no contrast. And when urgency becomes the order of the day, then it's no longer urgent. It's just how things are. And when being a hero is how you have to show up, not something you do occasionally to step up and make it work, then there's no difference between the day to day, and your business will slowly and unfortunately, sometimes very quickly, lose massive productivity, sometimes in a short period of time. I did a video or a podcast a while ago called Spotting a Mutineer. And one of the easiest cultures to create a mutiny in is a hero culture. So if you have that culture where people are constantly coming in early, staying late, having to overcome, it is so easy for someone on the team to start questioning, like, hey, why are we all working overtime when we don't get paid? And hey, are you coming in late and staying, or coming in early and staying late? And isn't everybody kind of overworked? And don't we all feel tired? And isn't it getting harder by the day? And isn't this getting more and more difficult? And by the way, look at how much the CEO is making. Look at how much he or she is making. Like, look how well they're doing. And we're the ones doing all the work. In a hero culture, that stuff not only gets heard, it gets acted on. I unfortunately have created this culture more than once. When I was younger in my 20s, this was the only way I knew how to run a company. I created crazy outcomes. I pushed people way too hard. My employee churn was ridiculous, and mutinies happened all the time. In fact, a lot of the paranoia I've developed around helping entrepreneurs build teams and being able to very quickly understand where the gaps and deficits and exposure is because I was an entrepreneur who built teams where there was massive gaps, deficits, and exposure because I didn't know otherwise. For you, you don't have to build a hero culture. It doesn't work. Here's how it really works. Sit down with your team and create clear outcomes and get consensus agreement from your team that everyone says, yes, we can do this. We feel confident we can do this. We're excited we can do this. Make it realistic. Then, once you have clear outcomes, have clear accountability as to who on your team is going to do what, and get consensus again. Make sure that they all believe that they can accomplish it. Then create transparency. Put up a scoreboard. Make sure you're tracking your metrics or your milestones so everyone knows where they stand and you know how close you're getting to the deadline of a project. And then manage it. Coach your team. Coach their success along the way and lead them to creating the outcome you want in a reasonable time frame and feeling good about it. When you can get your team to do that consistently over time, you build a team who's trained to win, who's confident in working with each other, and who comes in on a daily basis and will create a culture of performance. Because in a hero culture, whether you hit the deadline or not is up for grabs. In a performance culture, whether you hit the deadline or not is a guarantee you're going to hit it. And everybody's going to pull together and make it happen. And if there's a gap, somebody will step up, and they'll step up and do what it takes and overcome. But they'll do that because they don't have to do it every day, because it's not the way they live. It's what they do when they need to. There's a massive difference between building a hero culture and building a performance culture. And if you already have some of this going on in your organization, I would suggest you really start looking at how you're driving your people and how you're asking them to show up. And if you already have a culture where people are coming in early and staying late and they're getting worn down and they're getting frustrated, look around at your team and you'll see that the people who are there are becoming more difficult to work with. They're having a harder and harder time with showing up. They will start to have difficulty with deadlines, and eventually all that heroism just can't be kept up. You can't consistently be the person who overcomes. You can't consistently pull a rabbit out of your hat. You can't consistently just make things happen. Eventually, it comes crashing down. And the problem is, the bigger a business you grow with a hero culture, the bigger a downward crash you have when it comes unraveling. Take it from someone who's been there. When someone acts like a hero in your company, congratulate them. Let them know that you appreciate it. Let them know that it meant something to you. but then also question, why did they have to? Because that's an issue with the process you have and how you're setting up what your company is supposed to achieve. If you're consistently asking for unreasonably more than what your team can achieve, if you're consistently asking for more than they can do in the time that they have allotted, and there is a consistent need to have a hero, that's not your team's problem. That's a reflection of leadership. If you've already started to build the hero culture, it's easy to take apart. Clear outcomes, accountability for each person around what they're doing, and a transparent scoreboard that shows people whether they're accomplishing or not will keep everyone on your team in momentum and keep you performing in a predictable way. Hero cultures can be fun. They can seem really exciting in the short term, but they are an exhausting way to run a business for you and for your team. If you haven't yet, sign up for my Momentum web class. This is a 1-hour presentation that I'm doing, no slides, totally different than anything you've ever seen. Go to momentumwebclass.com, momentumwebclass.com, and sign up to spend an hour with me. Let me show you how to create more momentum in your business and your life than you ever thought possible. Let me show you how to achieve more, do more, and be more without feeling like you're letting those around you down. And let me show you the real reason you're not achieving everything you want to that no other coach is talking about. MomentumWebClass.com.